quick hit on the injuries. McBride, obviously coming back from the surgery, sports hernia. I mentioned it last show. Kept hearing like optimism and positive things about the rehab and the comeback. Haven't checked in on it lately, but just based on all that, I would be personally optimistic that he's back and ready to impact the game like he had been by the playoffs. Unless there's a hiccup between now and then. It seems like things had been trending that way. Other injuries, just kind of some knickknacks that guys have been dealing with. One of which was Karl-Anthony Towns' knee. Obviously, if it was bad, he would not have come back in the game. We'll see what his status is for that Utah game. I guess if it's barking a little bit, the Knicks are fortunate to have the Jazz and to have the Pacers on the schedule right now. But yeah, with McBride, just a little bit more there. Coach, if you have to fit him into this rotation, how are you doing that? Is it as easy as pulling Diawara and putting McBride in? Like, what's the formula there?
I think the guy you need to watch out for is Jose Alvarado, which was a great story bringing him back home, but he hasn't really been getting the minutes as of late. This is a guy that feeds off of minutes and energy, and it's just a different style than he's accustomed to. This free-flowing, more offensive style, it doesn't really fit Jose. Jose is a junkyard dog, dive on a loose ball, get the crowd energetic. He's the kind of guys you put in the game when you need to muck the game up, right? You need someone to go in there, get some stops, where the crowd is not into it. That's when Alvarado is going to be key. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Is honestly, sometimes guys playing him on home versus playing him on the road. Is there going to be a spot that you're going to play him a little bit more? But I think when you really look about it, Deuce is going to probably take those minutes. He may slide a little bit into Landry Shaman's minutes, so that's going to be interesting to watch. The other thing to watch, obviously, with the Knicks is if we're looking at minutes to be shaved, we're going to get it because it's starting to come up again. Is what do we do with Tyler Kolek, right? Tyler Kolek goes in a couple of games ago, has eight assists in like 8 minutes, and everyone's like, "Hey, put him in the game. We gotta play him 25 minutes tonight." Let's pump our brakes a little bit. I love Tyler Kolek. I love what he brings, but blowout spots versus NBA playoffs where teams are going to stay off of you and make you knock down shots, I'd be a little bit careful, although I've been really pleased with his development as well. I just don't know where the minutes come from, especially if Deuce comes back and you're still getting decent play out of Landry Shaman.
Right. It's going to be an interesting decision for Mike Brown, as it always is for any NBA head coach. And yeah, who do you trust? Game 7 in Detroit. Who do you trust with the ball in their hands? Who do you trust to make a shot in the shorter windows where substitutions will be on the floor? Jared, for you, how much does the group miss Miles McBride? And are we overlooking that and talking about how, rough things have been over the last 2 games?
I definitely think they miss him. He's one of their best 3-point shooters, and he's one of their best point of attack defenders. And that latter part is something that we have talked about all year, is their point of attack defense, and that they sometimes lack that because, it was supposed to be Mikal Bridges for, when they made the trade for Mikal Bridges, they kind of envisioned Mikal Bridges, their point of attack defender. And, I know you've spoken that he's maybe miscast in that role. It's not where he's strongest. And that's why I think we see Landry Shamet closing games often, to be that point of attack defender. And when Miles McBride was healthy, he was an option at the end of games as that point of attack defender. So I think that's where he's mainly hurt or missed, is in that aspect. And, like you mentioned, Jose Alvarado, I said it to my colleagues, Steph Bondi and Mike Vaccaro recently that, and they got a little mad at me. I said, watching Alvarado is a little bit like, he's a little bit of a gimmick, and I don't say that as so much of a negative, but everything that he brings, his high energy, his hiding behind guys in the inbound and coming to steal it, his scrappiness, it's all good and fine, but it's a little bit of a gimmick, and sometimes gimmicks work. Like if you remember that game in Philly against the 76ers right before the All-Star break, he took over the game. He was I think he got like 5 or 6 steals. He was hit a zillion 3-pointers, and it's like, okay, this gimmick works. But the thing about gimmicks is that they sometimes come back to earth, and I think he's missed his last 10 3-pointers. The whole Alvarado experience has certainly come back to earth. He is what he is. I think he's a nice piece to have on the bench. If you need a spark, you throw him in. If a guard on the other team is killing you on the offensive end, you throw him in and let him get in their face a little bit and guard them tough and pick up full court and stuff like that. But he's maybe not someone you can rely on as the main backup guard to Brunson, and that's really what McBride was he is the clear backup option to Brunson. When Brunson needs a spell, you throw in Deuce. And not only that, there were times when McBride played alongside Brunson, and they played well when they were on the floor together. I think that's where you miss McBride the most. It means more minutes for Alvarado, and then when Alvarado struggled, it means Tyler Kolek comes back in the rotation, and Kolek is not someone I think they will plan on having in their playoff rotation. His playmaking is apparent, but he struggles on the defensive end. There's too many things that he can't do, which is why despite that little Kolek surge right around Christmas, his minutes have waned, and they made the move to get Alvarado. They're definitely a better team with Deuce. His personal net rating is through the roof. I think he had the highest net rating on the team before he got hurt. And beyond that, he's one of their fastest players on the team. Mike Brown always talks about wanting to play faster, wanting to play faster in the full court and the half court, wanting to get in transition. And he's certainly someone who can push them in transition. Now, Alvarado does that too, but maybe Deuce does it a little more effectively. And, he gets them in transition. He gets them playing faster. And, so he's a key bench piece, and they certainly miss him. And like you said, it seems like he'll be right at the cusp of being back for the playoffs. I spoke to two surgeons right when the news came out. I spoke to two surgeons who do these types of sports hernia surgeries, and they gave a timetable that put him right at the end of the regular season and right at the start of the postseason. So it is now critical. How soon does he get back? How much time does he need to ramp back up? If he's healthy at the end of the regular season, does that leave him enough time to get his workload back up, get his conditioning back up, all those types of things. So, he should be right at the cusp of coming back for the playoffs, and that'll be really important for the Knicks.